All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case. Over on Rumble, of course, I've got my kitty co-host here, as usual. She's getting all buttery. She's been clingy for days and days, actually. Basically, won't leave me alone. We'll be talking about many, many things. We've got to talk about Katie Porter. We talked about that a little bit this morning, but I wanted to reiterate the funniness of this particular case. Katie Porter, of course, running for Feinstein's old Senate seat. Feinstein has stood down, and we have to talk about her domestic violence complaint. There's a complaint against her for domestic abuse by her former husband. We've also got to talk about YouTube and its algorithm. They're throttling me, which will probably be reflected in the number of people paying attention to the live stream. Just saying. It won't be an issue over on Rumble, I bet, though. You probably have more people watching over there than on YouTube at this point. Seems to be common these days. We are live, by the way, on Rumble. If I seem a little bit low energy, by the way, right now, it's a little bit later than I normally go, number one. Number two, I'm not used to weekend streams. I had to bump the one the other day because scheduling problems. And I am a little bit low energy, actually, today. So I'm going to try to keep up with it, keep up with the flow. Should just pound more caffeine, but I mean, yeah, you only ingest so much before it becomes dangerous. So we're going to be talking about all sorts of shit. Cam 2425 IA on Rumble, Saturday morning clank. Lemon Curd Zero, good morning, lovely day. And Cam saying, morning, Lemon, how is Florida today? And Lemon Curd replied, sunny, beautiful, and I'll be off to the farmer's market for produce right after the show. Make sure to get some coffee. King of Biltong, good morning from Antons in Roanoke, Texas. Hashtag Clank Nation. Our perennial commenter. By the way, the baby is upstairs, so you may hear baby noises in the background. I've turned the fan over there up to high to try to blind out some of the noise. We'll see what happens. We've got our kitty here. You know, what a nice kitty. This is the good kitty. The other kitty decided to piss on some of the baby toys the other day. It was not fun. The ones that are just plastic you can clean off. The absorbent ones, not so much. David, Fetterman Luggage Stealer 2024. Yeah, I can't remember. Sam Brinton was the luggage stealer. Apparently will serve no time for multiple larcenies in regards to stealing women's luggage and occasionally posing with it in public, their clothes. Anyway, we'll get right to this. California Representative Katie Porter's ex-husband stands by domestic abuse allegations against her, contradicting the campaign. California Democrat Senate campaign said Hoffman retracted the accusations. He did not. And here's the tie-in. It reminds me a little bit of what Al Franken did. Al Franken, of course, was caught out groping a sleeping reporter. That was a couple of years ago. And he had to stand down out of politics, although he's still trying to worm his way back in like the worm that he is. And his people claimed that the person that was photographed being groped by him, that was part of a skit and that she had admitted to it. She came out and said that the photograph was bullshit. That never actually happened. What ended up happening is that was gaslighting. And that's why I believe Katie Porter's ex-husband. This is textbook gaslighting. You're claiming that a recantation was issued. It was not. You're claiming that he said, oh, no, she didn't actually dump hot steaming mashed potatoes on my lap at one point and throw a bottle at my head, missed, and then the shards of it plastered my body and required to be surgically removed. Those things, I believe, happen. Katie Porter is, of course, the far leftoid candidate who's running for Feinstein's empty Senate seat. And she should definitely not be elected, but this is California. So I have every reason to believe she will be. That means that the left will be taking a domestic violencer and putting her in the Senate. She'll be in good company along with people like Klobuchar or Hillary Clinton over time. Many such cases of violent individuals on the far left that have been in office. And Feinstein, like, she's completely fucking messed up. She was recovering from shingles, actually, which is no joke. That's a chicken pox related, actually, variola. And she has missed most of the votes that she should have been in for. and the left is throwing her under the bus. We'll be talking about that separately, how they're trying to force her out of office early. Basically, like, fuck off. We'll have somebody else filling your role in Senate Judiciary, which she is trying to abscond from. She's trying to step back from that particular role and have somebody else put in her stead. The problem is that the Republicans have enough votes in the Senate, absent a removal of the filibuster, to prevent that slot from being carried at all. So it's becoming a problem for the Democrats there. Hoffman alleged that Porter hit him in the arm, causing a large bruise, dumped boiling potatoes, not in his lap, on his head, and ridiculed him as too dumb to have a cell phone. He said that the congresswoman waited all day, then called the police and made false allegations against him 11 hours after a confrontation while brushing their teeth the day police were called to their residence. Police arrested Hoffman. So they arrested the one who's actually making the domestic violence claims, by the way, on battery charges at the residence after the confrontation in April 2013. Porter requested the temporary restraining order the next day. Documents obtained by Fox News Digital, so grain of salt mode, it's Fox, state that Hoffman regretted making the allegations against Porter in a court-ordered child custody evaluation, but it doesn't specify whether his regret was due to a lack of veracity or another reason. So he has not recanted. He is claiming that Katie Porter was committing domestic violence, was violent towards him in multiple ways, as you can see. I believe it because you wouldn't generally have, even an active political campaign, you wouldn't generally see Katie Porter falsely claiming he had recanted when he clearly didn't, and he's going to be made aware of the fact that the campaign is claiming that. She would have simply said that the claims were bullshit. If they were brought up at all, she would say, look, I'm a woman. I can't do domestic violence. My husband was violent to me, or something like that, to that effect. In a Dem primary, that would work. That's not what she did now, is it? So I have my questions about Katie Porter and her veracity in this situation. Mr. Repurpose, good morning from beautiful Akron. The Commander 248, I watch you every day. Don't always watch the live stream and have the bell ring. I did get the notification that you went live on my phone right away. Well, that's good. You and 10 other people. YouTube is throttling content creators on a new level, and I will be talking about that as well. Aaron Nelson, baby sticks, clank, 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 clank. Baby sticks, clank, 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 clank. João Santos, Teixeira is pronounced Teixeira. Oh, Teixeira. Okay. I'll try to remember that in the future. Darun Albane, have you been seeing the Carp Dunctum T thread, but doing it with religion, converting an Islamic boy to Christianity? The people replying seriously. No, I haven't seen that. I'll have to take a look. Anishi Kihaku, check your DMs, please, for red threads. Third shift, never catch you. No Walmarts in Chicago, but ones in the scummier burbs are closing. Yes, I saw Walmart is closing about half of all of the locations they have in the Chicago area. I wonder why they're doing that. Ozzy's Robots, Morning Sticks, was first row at Wallflowers concert last night. My ears are still ringing. How the heck do octogenarian women know them? They were spazzing out. We'll have my own live stream later. I have to catch that. Maxwell JW, you hear about that YouTuber Wow Mao? His Discord was one of the ones that the Pentagon documents got posted on. His content is pretty funny, to be honest, even though he seems to be a leftist. Haven't heard of him. I did see a 4chan post last night that included usernames that I can't repeat on a live stream, probably even on Rumble, though. Josh, Trump should tweet, I like oxygen, or similar. Yeah, millions of his enemies would suddenly choke themselves to death. Anyway, story number 2. I'm sad to say that YouTube has embarked upon a new censorship campaign. And they've learned from the past. In the past, YouTube has just banned people when they have wrong think opinions. They've learned from that mistake. See, the problem is when you ban somebody and they go elsewhere, they use the fact that they were banned for clout, and so they gain, much of that audience back on a new platform or platforms. People like me are insulated from this further by the fact that we branched out very early and often. So I have about 140,000 people following me on BitChute and on Rumble, and almost 130,000 now on Elon Musk's Twitter, thousands on Substack, many, many tens of thousands on Odyssey, et cetera, et cetera. Here's the thing that YouTube is doing. and I've been paying attention to the algorithms over the subsequent days. YouTube has changed the way in which its suppression algorithm works as of about 3 days ago. I noticed that the processing time on videos was taking a lot longer. I said, oh, well, that's interesting. Usually that means that they're updating the site. And I think it has to do with also the algorithm itself, but that's a separate issue. So they're making an update. All of a sudden, my viewership on YouTube decides to decline by about 30%. Inexplicably. Now, I can also gauge this by the number of likes to the number of views on videos. Typically, it's between about 10% and 15%. So if you have 10,000 views, then you would expect to get a concordant amount of likes, roughly 10 to 15% of the number of views, give or take a little bit. There's a little wiggle room. When you see that the number of likes on the video is 2 or 3 times what you would normally ascribe to the number of views, you can read it one of 2 ways. You can say, oh, well, I'm getting a lot more engagement on this video. Yeah, the viewership is much lower, but I'm getting more engagement. Or you can say YouTube is holding back the view counter to prevent this video from spreading. And that is indeed what they are doing. YouTube is throttling my content on a new level, though I've been on their naughty list now since 2017 or thereabouts. They've decided to make the naughty list worse. And I'm wondering if this is happening to other creators. It's roughly the last 3 days. And so they're alternately promoting your competitor's content, number one. They've been doing that for a while. And number 2, holding back the views to prevent you from trending, to prevent you from appearing in search results, because it makes it inorganically look like you're less popular. And the views will come in. It's just that they'll come in long after the video has been uploaded at an inopportune time when the issue is already old. It's sort of like on other sites. Well, YouTube does this with monetization already. Anyway, a person uploads a video and monetization is set to off because it contains edgy content. And they appeal and they say, look, there's nothing edgy in there. 48 hours later, YouTube says, oh, yeah, our bad. Yeah, it can be fully monetized. The problem is 99% of all the viewership that'll ever happen on that video happens within the first couple of days. And so the person is effectively being robbed by YouTube. They are taking their money away. Take the money and run. So yes, I am being throttled more by YouTube. Meanwhile, we're still growing on every other platform effectively, or at least maintaining. On YouTube, the number of subscribers has been stalled now for over a month. Yeah, thank you, YouTube. Barb Rogers, Miss Solar Terror, always the sun. The Patriot Chiro, greetings, Sticks. It is my 111th birthday. I like some of you half as much as I would like, and I like less than half of you half as well as you deserve. Have a great day, Sticks. I get the reference. Ozzy's Robots, YouTube constantly reduces my views. It sucks. They don't do that to me. They just hold back a lot of the views until many, many hours later when the video is no longer current. And so the news story, which is what I focus on in about half my videos, is already old hat by that point. It's a great way of effectively not banning a person so they can gain clout or attention, but throttling them to the point where their content is effectively irrelevant outside of their core audience. And that is really the goal. They've been doing this for a long time. Anishi Kihaku, are you aware of Louis Rossman's right to repair efforts? Would love to see you two exchange words. He also has 3 gorgeous cats. Never heard of him. I have no clue what that refers to. I'll have to look into it. Barb Rogers, Miss Solar Terror, pick your nose and wipe the booger on your cat, Sticks, please. Yeah. I won't be doing that, although the cat sometimes sneezes on me. As she'll get into bed, she'll be like crawling all over my back, and then all of a sudden, chew, chew, chew. She's not exactly fully civilized, and she's better off than her sister. Darun Aldain, these kids are so excited about their new spiritual identity that they devote every moment to studying the Bible. The Bible? Next news story. The Democrats are afraid, despite all of their surface bravado, the leftoids. I think it's more the left understands the nuance and the danger of this, and the liberals just have their head in the sand. By elevating Trump, Democrats are playing with fire. This is an opinion piece by James Pearson. And the basic idea is that 2024 is beginning to look a lot like 2016 because the legacy media keeps talking about Trump, Trump this, Trump that, etc. For a while, they were trying to shut him out, but then after the indictment, they haven't been doing that. All of a sudden, he managed to gain about 7 points of support in the aggregate, and everyone's wondering exactly how that happened. This article is partially true. Donald Trump is not being supported or promoted or artificially astroturfed by the legacy media. They're not doing that. They tried to do that briefly in 2016. They tried to throttle back almost immediately and ignore him into irrelevance, and it didn't work. What they're doing, though, is they are being forced to talk about him because it's actually newsworthy. If there's nothing else going on, the Trump indictment would be a key news story. Yeah, the ignoring of almost 250 years of legal and civic precedent. I'm surprised that CNN decided to put a page B on it. The idea here is that they're effectively trying to get Trump nominated because they think that he'll lose. They think he'll be easy to beat. And this article, rebukes that concept and says, well, no, you're making the mistakes of 2016. I look at it differently. I don't think that they're trying to get Donald Trump nominated. In fact, quite the opposite. But they are talking about him. They are still taking the same bait and making the same mistakes, not because they're trying to support him to try to get him to be nominee. I think that they would much rather have a uniparty Republican like a Nikki Haley or something. If they could get them nominated, you could crush them easily. And even if they won, it wouldn't matter because they're a uniparty. It's to be like Jeb Bush. Nikki Haley is Jeb Bush with a vagina. Ramaswamy would be, he's not going to win. He's too far outside. Ron DeSantis, I don't know whether they conceive of him as someone they can control or someone just to bruise Trump in a primary. I don't think that they're trying to support him. I think that they're trying to attack him, but in order to do that, they actually have to talk about him. And that's what my read on the situation actually is. I'll just read out a couple of bits from here. Democrats seem to be of two minds about Donald Trump. They ostensibly plan to promote him as the Republican nominee for president in the belief that President Joe Biden or any plausible Democrat will defeat him in the 2024 election. I disagree completely, but we'll get past it. At the same time, they hope to destroy him as the representative of everything bad in American life and the foe of everything good. That part is, I agree with that. The legal prosecutions against Trump serve both purposes by focusing public attention on him and setting the stage to see him convicted of a crime in a court of law again. If you look at the kangaroo court-ism of Alvin Bragg's district attorney position and the resultant Biden and Soros-backed judge, that'll go over really well with independent voters. Again, that part I disagree with, but he does have a point here. This strategy makes a great deal of sense, but it could easily backfire. There is no question that Democrats have fared well over the last 3 election cycles. Not quite, but we'll get past that too. He is highly unpopular among the voting groups attached to the Democratic Party, who wouldn't vote for any other Republican either. But again, we have to get past some dross here in order to get to the kernel of truth. There is little doubt that the FBI raid in his Palm Beach, Florida home last August was designed by the Biden admin as a means of putting Trump on the ballot for the 22 midterm elections. Interesting. That's an interesting proposition. This is coming from someone who doesn't even like Trump, and he's admitting the quiet part out loud. Let that one sink in and go back and read it for yourself a couple times. Link in the description, archived, of course. The tactic worked as Democrats across the country ran against Trump and his favored candidates and fought the election to a draw. Well, no, the Republicans did take the House. The Senate was the draw. The recent indictment by Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg has further raised Trump's profile among Republicans, perhaps now assuring the former president will once again be the party's nominee next year. I would agree with that. It is all but inevitable that Trump will be the nominee. You go through the article here, and a lot of it is basically TDS. But there is that kernel of truth. The Democrats are fucking off. They are fucking up with regards to the situation, just not for the reasons that article suggests. They're saying, well, you're raising the profile of Trump. We made that mistake before. They're actually trying to ignore him out of existence. What they're really doing is they're just making a bunch of the same bullshit hit pieces as before, but they're being forced to make them. They are being forced to talk about Trump And Trump, by the way, is laughing all the way to the bank. We have Cam2425IA over on Rumble. Rant here. Thank you. Don't worry, I will make some Rumble exclusives. At this point, I think, again, there's almost as many people watching on Rumble as on YouTube. So YouTube decides to abuse me after more than 14 years making content on the site. Been on Rumble actively for a couple of years, and they promote my content. Who do you think that I prefer? Yeah. D, did Papa Helados ever get his Styx plushie? And if so, how? Nope, he never got a plushie, and then he disappeared. I don't know where he went. MF Damien. Catterday stream, much love. Yeah, I mean, we've got Catterday right here. Exactly. Maybe she'll eat the plan over there and then barf all over the table. Durin Albane, but sometimes they lack the focus. In those cases, the school nurse prescribes distraction blockers to help complete the transformation. Don't tell mom and dad, though. Yeah, give him some Ritalin. I used to use Ritalin. I got off that shit real quick when I could. Brad Karthauser, only 1.4K viewers showing now. Seems low for a Sticks and Cats video. Yeah, because I'm being algorithmically throttled. That's the entire reasoning. It's happened with my morning videos too. Again, you may think, well, it's sour grapes. Well, Sticks is just losing his mojo or something. No, I've been doing this since 2007. I know that there is a strong correlated differential between the number of views and likes. And when the videos take 10 times longer to process, I can only assume it's because an algorithmic change has been made. And indeed, when that change coincides with a massive drop in viewership, I'm going to assume that the two are related, presumptively. Barb Rogers, Miss Solar Terror, kiss your cat, please, Sticks. Well, she went down there to go eat. Also, they're beginning to shed because the warm season is coming. I don't really want to eat cat hair. Beefy King, I live in Florida and commercials are on TV from Trump putting down DeSantis even though he isn't really running yet. Yeah, it is funny that they're running ads against each other even though DeSantis isn't in. Trump is running ads against DeSantis too, by the way. Let's not be hypocrites. John Hoyle, being a country with a much lower military budget than the U.S., does Holland have much lower taxes or better public works investments? The tax rate it depends, basically, on where your money is coming from mainly. As far as public works, you get a lot more mass transit, but the Netherlands is about the size of Vermont and New Hampshire. It's not comparable to the U.S., and it's much more densely populated. It's also a super flat. It's like playing a super flat world in Minecraft. If you go through some of the polders, you would think that it was the same thing. Next news story. Watch. Mike Pence booed during NRA convention speech. You can't watch it from the archived link in the description, but it's still key. Former VP Mike Pence received a not-so-warm welcome during his appearance at the annual National Rifle Association convention on Friday afternoon, where I think Trump was already speaking. After being introduced by NRA CEO Wayne LaPierre, Pence faced loud boos from across the room as attendees expressed what appeared to be a strong dislike for the former vice president and attempted to drown out those applauding him, which they were partially successful at, by the way. There wasn't a lot of love in the room for Mike Pence. And this is the NRA. This is the FUD gun convention. Imagine if Gun Owners of America had a conflagration and Pence showed up there. Well, hello, NRA, Pence began, to more boos. One attendee then yelled above the boos, "We love you, Mike." See, that's the sort of person that Pence doesn't want to be alone with for obvious reasons. "I love you too," Pence responded as he sucked a cock. As a number of audience members laughed. Former President Donald Trump, who spoke later in the day, appeared to joke at Pence's expense over the boos, telling the crowd he heard they made news with the welcome. "I hope you gave Pence a good warm approval," Trump said as members of the crowd booed again. Again, the NRA is basically, they're not really pro-Second Amendment. I mean, they're pro-gun in the sense that they think that you should be able to own a bolt action or a revolver. They're not on the forefront of Second Amendment support or anything like that. Nonetheless, if you can't get the FUDs at the NRA not to boo you when you're a longtime Republican and a bit of an evangelical, Pence does have that moralistic approach. If you can't get them not to boo you at that point, you are surely lost. This speaks to the unlikelihood, in my opinion, that Pence will jump in, by the way, to the 24 race. I don't really care about Pence himself. It's funny to see, him get booed and jeered and heckled and stuff. That's funny, but it's not really newsworthy. Why I'm bringing it up is because it speaks to the fact that he doesn't have a coalition. He doesn't have a core of support, really, that he can fall back on to be sort of his base. Like you need at least 3 or 4 points of the Republican population has to be solidly behind you for you to have any chance. Ramaswamy doesn't have this due to name recognition. Nikki Haley barely scrapes by just because she's a war pig and has a vagina. And then DeSantis and Trump are the only viable people in the race. And DeSantis, of course, has not announced yet. So, yeah, it's you're a Republican. You just got booed by the NRA. Now might be the time to fucking go home and shut the fuck up. But will Mike Pence shut up? Yeah, well, we'll see. We have no idea. And again, this is the NRA. These are the bolt action rifle and shotgun people. This isn't Gun Owners of America or the Gun Policy Coalition or something like that actually stands for a real explanation of what the Second Amendment is about. These are people who are Elmer Fudd, and even they don't fucking like him. So you've lost MAGA. You've lost the NRA boomers. You never really had like the TDS sufferers aren't on board with you because, you worked with Trump. Where the fuck are your votes going to come from if you decide to run? Mike Pence would be best served standing down. He's made it clear that he is going to waffle and fence ride between Trump and the unipartyists. And I think he's doing that because he's not getting in. He's doing that because he believes that Trump may win, he may not win. Whoever wins, though, he wants to be on their good side. So he's capable of showing them quotes where he's praised Trump if Trump wins and ignore the rest. Or he's able to show them quotes where he criticized Trump if he doesn't win and then ignore the rest as well. He wants to sell a book. He wants to have a cabinet position. He wants to, maybe he wants to join the House of Representatives or something like that, become a governor. I think his career is over, in my opinion. I don't think that Mike Pence has anything left to offer the country. What little he had to offer before, you will remember many years ago when Donald Trump took him on as running mate. I balked at continuing to support Trump because I disliked him so much. Oh boy, did my take age like fine wine on that one. I will eternally take the win with regards to Mike Pence. Then again, many others did as well. Next news story. 5 reasons Dems picked Chicago for their 2024 convention. I'm going to get into this because it's so fucking funny. Here's the main reason. Because Chicago reflects Democratic Party values. High crime, attempts to disarm people who are law-abiding, no attempts to disarm anyone else. Revolving door criminal policies with regards to even violent felonies, dysfunction economically, decrepitude, and Chicago is the perfect place for the Democrats to hold their convention. The other reason is this. Chicago is a very violent city. It has an enormous amount of violent crime. It's called Chirac for a reason. But this crime is not political. It's not an Antifa member shooting at someone for wearing a MAGA hat. It's people in the hinterlands. It's the perfect symbol of the Democrats. I'll explain further. It's the perfect symbol because it shows the NIMBYism of the Democratic Party. Their convention is not going to be held in the crime-ridden neighborhood surrounded by drug dealers. Their convention is not going to be held in the neighborhood where they would need 24/7, like 1,000 fucking cops to guard it, because otherwise there might be Crips and Blood showing up for a street war. Their convention will be held in a convention center with private security and police and everyone who goes there. A lot of them, they won't be from Chicago. It'll be very telling. And it'll be peaceful in the end. You'll see some protests, and they'll be brutalized, by the way, by the Chicago police, and nobody will find this to be hypocritical in any way. They're not holding it in the outer lands of Chicago that are run effectively by criminal gangs. It's the NIMBYism on display. That's why it's the perfect place. It's the perfect symbol of the Democratic Party. We have our convention in your city, but it's not in the part of the city that we ourselves as a party have left behind and allowed to effectively be run by a cartel. That's what's going on here. And it's really, I mean, it's not really funny. It's more sad than anything else. You have sometimes dozens of shootings over the course of a single weekend in Chicago. They won't be happening near the convention center, though. The Chicago PD that's not allowed to go out and police half the city, all of a sudden will show up in force. There'll be 1,000 of them there to make sure that all the delegates and shit are there, and that they're all healthy and taken care of, and they're all safe. And they'll have their private security, too. So you're going to see a bunch of rich liberals descend on Chicago, along with a largely out-of-state audience, and they'll pretend that everything's fine. And meanwhile, while the convention is going on, that same weekend or whatever, there'll be a dozen people that are shot to death in Chicago, and they won't talk about it. It's funny because one of the things in here actually mentions the concept that crime and local politics will play a role in this. It's pretty clear how Republicans will portray Mr. Biden's convention city. A spokesman for the campaign arm of House Republicans, Will Reinhart, mocked the selection. What's the bigger concern? Sirens drowning out nominating speeches, or what items attendees must leave at home to make room for their bulletproof vest in their suitcase? Republicans notably did not mention crime rates when they selected Milwaukee, which had a higher homicide rate than Chicago in 2022. Interesting cope. Yeah, the Republicans should just choose a fucking cornfield because it's basically what they're running on half the time. Democrats answered that pandemic-era spikes in crime were easing. In Chicago and across the country is a political issue, and tough on crime messaging may have been also be losing its power. Yeah, crime is easing. The statistics don't show that, and if the statistics did, would you give up the anti-gun canard? Of course not. They'll go there and they'll talk about needing to remove AR-15s from people who live out in the middle of nowhere and who never committed a goddamn crime in their life. Meanwhile, they won't focus on the handguns that are actually ripping Chicago a new asshole every weekend. So I think that it's very fitting that Chicago is the convention site for the Democratic Party for 2024. By the way, it's funny that they say it's Biden's convention. We don't even know that he's going to run again. He hints at it. He says, I plan to run again. I expect to run again. I would like to run again. He has never actually announced that he's running again. He's got several opponents within his party. There's a bunch of people vying for the Republican nomination. Biden is silent. Why? He's looking at polls. He's doing that same thing that he's notable for doing. And this has been talked about even by allies of his. He tends to be very, very strategic. In other words, his decision-making tends to be very, very slow. So Biden will say, well, I like this policy, but I need another focus group to focus on it and give me more insight. And so sometimes that can be a good thing, like strategic intelligence. And at some points, it means that you wait too long and the issue is passed. McClellan had this problem in the Civil War. He used to sit there basically looking at it like it was a goddamn game of Risk. And so you had a situation multiple times where he had massive numeric superiority and the lay of the land was in his favor. But instead of just marching in, he would start digging in and second guessing himself and saying, well, maybe we have a little bit too little black powder, get another supply going. And a week later, the enemy has already completely trenched in and he no longer has the advantage. This is, by the way in which Joe Biden conducts battle. Basically the concept. Next news story. Fellow Democrats turn on Dianne Feinstein. Slightly hyperbolic, as we'll get into. Call for her to resign from the Senate. Dereliction of duty. Yes, Feinstein has asked to be taken out of Senate Judiciary. And she's missed most of the votes that she's supposed to have gone to for some time now. She's pushing 90. She's not in good health. She's got shingles, which is, for people who had chicken pox, can be a problem. She's got dementia. I don't think that there are even many liberals who deny that she has it. They'll deny that Joe Biden has dementia. I don't see any of them springing to the aid of Dianne Feinstein. Basically, it's like the Cenk Uygur sort of thing. Well, she's had a long and distinguished career. We can talk about Feinstein a little bit separately, by the way. But now it's someone else's turn. She needs to go. The irony is that Katie Porter, the one we discussed at the beginning of this live stream, the domestic violence accused, she's the one running for that empty seat as the progressive Dem. And she doesn't really have an opponent, so she probably will actually win it. So the Democrats will have another spousal abuser in the in U.S. Congress. Here's the thing. There aren't many Dems that are actually calling for her to resign, but they are measurable. Now, let me give my views about Feinstein. Dianne Feinstein is a leftoid, a Californian liberal, sort of like stereotypically minted, and there aren't many positives to her. She, for example, was one of, I remember making a video about this, God, I think it was in 2010 or thereabouts. She indicated that she didn't think that bloggers should be covered by the First Amendment because they weren't members of the press, completely ignoring the other parts of the First Amendment in the process, and she got panned at the time for this. She's a severe anti-gunner. There are two things, though, that I can say that she has done well. And I'll give her, God, I'll probably be giving her more credit than some Dems by saying this. She has stood in the way of them ending the Senate filibuster. She has made it clear she was never in support of that. Katie Porter, by the way, is in favor of ending the filibuster. Another reason, if you're in California, to turn out and vote in that fucking election. Feinstein made it very clear and planted her foot years ago and said, no, I'm not going to vote to end the filibuster at all. She stood with Joe Manchin on that principle, that which probably has saved us from absolute tyranny over the subsequent couple of years since she said that. Secondly, ironically enough, the AIDS epidemic. She was at the forefront of people that didn't want to do like the lockdown masturbator thing back then, back in the 1980s. It's really funny that she was on the forefront of promoting it during the last honkening that went on a few years, over the last few years. Because during the AIDS epidemic, and you can goddamn look it up for your fucking self, there's reel after reel of news footage from the time, from the mid 80s. She was one of the people that did not want to send people with AIDS to the prison island or, burn them in the streets or something like that. Well, she was right. In the end, she was correct. AIDS has been largely contained at this point. Everyone else thought that it was going to be the doomsday virus. Oh, wait, shit. That happened in the last couple of years, too. Only Dianne Feinstein was on the wrong side of history with that one. Very, very interesting now, isn't it? So, yeah, there are some Democrats that are calling for Feinstein to remove herself. Ironically, I actually agree with the liberals on this one. If you can't do your job, then quit. And Dianne Feinstein can't do her job. Again, I'll give her credit for the few redeeming qualities that she's had as a member of the of Congress. You're not even showing up to vote. You're not even showing up and doing your actual job that you're paid to do. You're probably dying. I would be very surprised if Dianne Feinstein were around in 2025. She's old, demented. She's suffering near constant health issues at this point. The Democrats are fundamentally correct. She should resign. She should not wait until she is in a casket for this. Otherwise, basically, you've got a person on the Senate not doing their job. And it's not like with Fetterman, like there's no indication that Fetterman is going to drop dead tomorrow. He's not capable of doing his job, but there's the expectation that at the very least, he will be doing his job at some indefinite point in the future. When you're pushing 90 years old and you have dementia, et cetera, that ship has sailed. Dianne Feinstein will not effectively be returning to work any more than Mitch McConnell, according to some people, supposedly will be doing. The Patriot Chiro, did you hear about the AI-generated fake of Joe Rogan podcast? Is it not defamation or trademark infringement? I don't know. I don't think that's settled law at the moment. If somebody did a thing where it was like an AI of me doing a video saying weird shit, I would just find it funny more than anything else. Unless it were presented as genuinely real. Opinionated Junkie watched O Block documentary, Chicago Forever Done. Chicago's been fucked up for 100 years. Aaron, any comment on the violence in Sudan this morning? It looks like another civil war. I didn't see that, but I'll look into it. Oh, God. The Janjaweed are at it again. Ted Scheckler, Sticks, where are we at with the emerging lolcow? Patrick S. Tomlinson sues 60 internet John Does for calling him fat, loses, and is trying to get out of paying legal fees by self-SWAT services. Weird news, Frunkus. I know absolutely nothing about what you're discussing there. Patrick S. Tomlinson. I'll pop that over on the side. Oh, and the Sudan story as well. Sudan. Okay, thank you, everybody. And then the final news story, Benny Johnson weighing in here. Breaking! The CEO of Anheuser-Busch, Brendan Whitworth, releases a statement in the midst of boycotts following the Dylan Mulvaney controversy. We never intended to be part of a discussion that divides people. We are in the business of bringing people together over a beer. Yeah, get people drunk and see how much of a get-together you have. When they all start getting loose-lipped and they start insulting each other or whatever. Here's what I would say with regards to the Bud Light, Dylan Mulvaney, etc. controversy, so-called. Firstly, you shouldn't drink beer anyway. It's fucking retarded. Secondly, I don't care about Dylan Mulvaney. I don't care if a dude wants to wear a dress or whatever. It doesn't bother me. I used 4chan back in the 2000s. You're going to have to try harder than that. Bud Light does not know its audience, however. They don't seem to understand why people would be upset. And this is a non-apology. Don't half-ass it. Either come out and say, hey, we apologize for alienating the majority of our previous alcoholics, or don't apologize at all and just shrug it off. I would have assumed that they would do the latter. If you're getting free publicity because every Tom, Dick, and Harry is either complaining or praising you for your product placement choices, you're getting free advertisements, so for weeks or months to come, you don't have to make a goddamn commercial or anything. You've already got it made. Why the fuck would you come out and do this unless the boycotts were actually working and you were selling a lot less units than you expected to be selling? And the fact is that you really need to know your audience. Like, let's say that I were to come out tomorrow and I were to say, I've embraced the light. You know, I've come to the conclusion that Karl Marx was correct or something. I think I would lose some subscribers. I don't think that would be a crowd pleaser. Now, of course, I always, I wear my politics on my sleeve. So I don't lie to anyone with regards to what I believe in sociopolitically. If I really did see the light and become a communist, I would tell people, but I wouldn't expect to gain subscribers as the result of that. At least in the intermediate period, it'd be a tough time. Hey, I'd be a genuine communist. I wouldn't be able to afford food. It would be great. But you're selling Budweiser. Budweiser is stereotypically associated with like NASCAR and MAGA hat wearers and stuff like that. I know that's a stereotype. Like I don't fit in that crowd. I hate NASCAR and shit like that. I'm not a redneck. I'm more of a hillbilly. I've drank Bud Light before, and it's like, it's okay, I suppose, as far as piss beer goes, but it's nothing special. But I have drank it. But I mean, goddamn, a lot of the people that do drink your product, your liver destroying, heart destroying, poisonous product, are rednecks. They are not they don't know who Dylan Mulvaney is. And once they realize who he is, it makes them less likely to buy your fucking beer. I hear from people who are actual distributors who own like a liquor outlet, a bar, et cetera, and a lot of them are boycotting Budweiser products. A lot of them, as far as the ones that have contacted me, all of them, effectively. I know that's a sampling bias because of the kind of political content I point out, but at least a half a dozen people have messaged me and said, yeah, I own a bar. We're not going to be ordering more Bud. I own, this store and we sell beer in this store and I've decided not to order more, a grocery store or whatever. I've seen multiple instances of that. I can imagine that it hurts their bottom line. Their stock initially rose. Now it looks like the opposite is the case. But don't do a half-assed apology. This is just going to piss everyone off. You're pissing off Dylan Mulvaney's fans and like the leftoids, like the Pabst drinkers who have decided to try Bud Light for the first time because, Daddy used to beat them and he used to drink Bud, so they were reluctant. You've pissed them off by apologizing at all, and you've pissed off the more cerebral of your core fans by not apologizing enough. So don't do the waffling, fence-sitting thing. And you're getting called out by like every other fucking content creator who isn't a total moron because of the wording in here. As a CEO founded America's heartland, I don't really apologize, but we just don't want to launch into a social situation here. We don't want to be part of a culture war. We just want to get you drunk and destroy your liver. That would have been a better message. Hey, let me rewrite this, and I'll be as sarcastic as possible. It'll read like a Babylon Bee article. Somebody get me the goddamn CEO of Anheuser-Busch, and I'll put this straight really quickly. They'll probably sell more beer afterwards. David H. I graduate with my physics degree May 13th, and you have been a huge part of my daily routine. Thank you. You rock. Excellent. Congratulations on graduation. Physics is, that's beyond my pay grade intellectually. Oh, I hated it. You had to take physics at UVM in order to graduate under plant biology. It's like I never got around to doing it. I was like holding it off. So, senior year, I guess I'll take it then. Boycott Warhammer Plus. Yeah, Sticks. All my AI videos of you are parodies. The Commander 248. By the way, please send no more super chats because I have to do other things. We're eating sushi tonight, so I don't have to cook, though. This is a positive. The Commander 248. I'm on base this weekend for military reserve duty. Just make sure not to steal any top secret documents because I guess that's very, very easy to do if you happen to be on a military base at all. A lot of animal strikes happen around Lansing. Someone hit 2 deer in one go. I found an intact dead cat. I dragged it off the road so the owner wouldn't find a crushed cat. That's rather sad. Look up bedtime stories sometime. Some of those take place near military bases. There must be some weird shit. PJ Doe sent $4.99. No comment. Thank you very much. Yeah, don't drink, kids. Very Angry Citizen. What do you think will be the catalyst for the collapse now that they changed the banking rules so financial institutions cannot fail after the first half dozen? I think that we're going to eventually see another depression regardless. It is inevitable. It's just a matter of when it happens. Hopefully not in our lifetimes. People may joke about how funny it would be to see all the impoverished people selling their body for a can of beans or something. I don't think that you'd probably be too happy with it. Dutch Schaefer. Have you heard anything from David Hogg about a potential debate? I would pay to see this. I'd pay too. Honestly, I would drop money in the goddamn pot just to debate the dude, just because it'd be so funny. But no, he has. I have messaged him and multiple times publicly commented, and no reply. That's because he knows he would lose. Ozzy's Robots. The right is horrible strategically. They should take a page from the left and attack Bud Light and its parent company as evil colonizers. P.S. Dylan acts like a child on TikTok and is perceived as a groomer. Not a big surprise. Mopey Hornet, what's your opinion on being able to wake up in your dream, then fall back asleep in your dream, repeating it multiple times? I found myself doing it without knowing how and usually getting attacked by a spirit. I've never done that, although I have had lucid dreams and projected myself. I've never fallen back into the actual sleep, though. So I don't know. Never had that experience. Sounds interesting, though. Yeah, make a video on the subject. And over on Rumble, K Mitchell 6. Hey, Sticks, can you give my Rumble and YouTube channel a shout out? Fatal Investing. We give all info out free, unlike everyone else on YouTube that wants you to buy a subscription or class. So you have Fatal Investing on both YouTube and on Rumble by K Mitchell 6 here. And that is officially a shout out. I would post it over here on Rumble, but I can't do that on Rumble, only on YouTube. Yes, Ninja Dog, I will be having unagi. Yes, specifically hand rolls, tamaki, with the smoked eel. Oh my God, smoked eel is like the best thing fucking ever. It's one of my favorite foods, along with cottage pie. Liz's scallop potatoes, which, by the way, I believe she plans to make tomorrow. Oh, you have no idea. Just fucking cheesy, lots of onion, of course. Enormous amounts of bacon. Oh, yes. Scallop potatoes. It brings a smile to my face when I just fucking think about it. I'll be eating probably a good half a pan, maybe a little bit more. Anyway, and yes, by the way, 69 a drummer, trust me, just try smoked eel with the sweet and salty sauce. Just try it. You would never think that it was fishy at all. It's I can't even describe the flavor. It's flaky and delicious and sweet. Eel is probably the best single meat that I've ever had. It has a smoky flavor, sort of like a really loose, flavorful jerky. Anyway, I'm going to go offline now. I've got other things that I have to do. I ain't doing shit tomorrow. No live streams. It's Sunday. It's the Lord's Day. Lord stole us. That's about all. Peace out.